Today's video is all about new releases. We're going to be talking about 10 different watches released over the past 2 weeks that you definitely should check out. Like I said, I have 10 watches to go through, so let's get into it. Every time I'm out, pull me back in. I feel like every time I think I'm done with Swatch and their Blanc or Moon Swatch collaborations, they pulled me back in with something, and they have just released a new Blanc 50 Fathoms. This one is the Green Abyss. It is basically the same as every other Blanc 50 Fathoms that you've seen, but this time it has a green theme. You get a green case, a green bezel. The bezel insert is black. The dial is green. It's a fume green. You're getting that moisture indicator down at the 6 o'clock. That's half green and half beige. They're using cream colored lume throughout this one. And just like the other ones, you are getting a lumed bezel, 91 meters of water resistance. You're getting a plastic crystal. You're getting a see-through case back where you can see the System 51, which is a pretty cheap automatic movement that Swatch use for most of their System 51s. And also you're getting a bio-ceramic case. That bio-ceramic case feels like plastic, it's pretty lightweight, and this comes on a nylon strap, and a lot of people replace those, including myself. However, this is one that I will get. I really love the Ocean of Storms, which is basically a black version of the Swatch 50 Fathoms. I really like the look of this watch. I think it looks as good as that one. Those two are probably my favorite, and I'll definitely be picking this up. Again, these are around $400. These are going to be released on June 7th, so these should be live and available at the Swatch boutiques currently. And also, these are in 42 millimeters, so these are pretty wearable compared to most 50 Fathoms, modern 50 Fathoms available, so that is also another plus for these watches. You guys know I'm always complaining about marketplaces like eBay and Chrono24. Today's video is sponsored by Chronographs, a new marketplace that is dedicated to the enthusiast. Started by John P. of the John P. Watches YouTube channel. This new enthusiast-based marketplace is exclusively for selling your watches, and right now, if you sign up with Chronographs, there are 0 fees, buying or selling. So that means you're going to get a better price when you're buying and more money when you're selling, because there are no fees currently on Chronographs. And also, if you sign up right now for a free account on Chronographs, by June 15th, you are automatically entered to win a Tudor Black Bay watch. All you have to do is sign up for a free account on Chronographs. Again, that is chronographs.com. Definitely check out their website for more information on the giveaway and giveaway details. It was only yesterday where I released a video about a new Nevada Grenchen. This is one of my favorite chronographs that they have released this year, and actually last year as well. That's the Chronosport. The one that we looked at yesterday was the Mecha Quartz version. However, Nevada Grenchen have also released a higher end chronograph this week, and it is powered by a Valjoux 23. This is a hand wound movement. I believe these are new old stock movements, and they are coming out with a very limited run of 2 different watches based on the Chronomaster Aviator Sea Diver. These are awesome historic watches that are very recognizable, but they are doing something completely different with one of the models. One of the models is very traditional, looks like the traditional Chronomaster. However, the one that I really love is the blue aventurine dial version, which gets a world time bezel. These are both in stainless steel and 38 millimeters. You're getting 100 meters of water resistance. You're getting a display case back on these, which you normally don't get. So you can see that Valjoux 23, and these are priced really well at $5,000, considering that the movement in this watch is pretty hard to come by these days and has to be completely overhauled before they put it into a case. There's a lot of work that goes into these watches, especially that aventurine dial, aventurine bezel version. It's completely different, completely strange and weird. I love it, and I think these look great. They are $5,000, so it doesn't seem cheap, but you are getting a lot of watch for your money. And again, I think these are really cool. Another release that I really found attractive was the new Zenith Defy Extreme Diver. I loved the first one with the orange and blue motif. However, I'm not a huge fan of the orange and blue. I like the look of the watch. I even like the fact that it was orange and blue, but I'm just not a fan of those two combinations. They just released a beautiful black star textured dial with a yellow chapter ring. So basically you're getting the same dial in black with a yellow chapter ring rather than an orange and blue motif. They went black and yellow. It's exactly the same as the previous model. It's in all titanium. You're getting an El Primero 3-hand movement inside. It's 42.5 millimeters. You're getting 600 meters of water resistance. And again, this is available either on a bracelet, a nylon strap, or a rubber strap. I'm not sure if it comes with all three. Price on this is $12,300. I know that sounds like, again, a lot of money, but this is a really cool watch. It's an integrated bracelet watch, and it's something very different. A great alternative to the popular dive watches out there. I think this one is awesome, and I would love to get this hands-on for review. Orus released their Holstein edition for 2025, and they did something a little bit different, and I really like it. Orus usually are pretty playful. They've come out with a Kermit watch. They've come out with a Miss Piggy. However, this year, the Holstein edition gets a little bit of a playful effect to it as well. It's an all-black watch, so you're getting an all DLC-coated case. It's in stainless steel. You're getting 100 meters of water resistance. You're getting their in-house caliber, the Caliber 400. It's limited to 250 pieces. I believe this is the 6th edition that they have done. You're getting a fully loomed dial. And then there is the Orus bear. There's a silhouette that is a shadow of the Orus bear on the dial. And basically, you can only see that when it is loomed, so at night, which looks really cool. It's sort of your secret, and I like that. Price on this is $4,150. This is a 41 millimeter watch. I think it's based on the Pro Pilot. It just looks good, and I'm really glad that they played around with the loom on this watch, because that's kind of what makes this watch fun, and I like fun watches. I always sing the praise of Lunine and their GMTs. Their GMTs are affordable, good looking, and very functional. They just came out with a new version of their Zulu time, and this could be one of the best looking versions that they've come out with yet. It's $4,300, so it's around the same price that they have been for a while. It gets an ETA made, basically an ETA based Longines exclusive Flyer GMT caliber, the L844.4. This is a movement that they have used in many, many watches. However, finally, you can see this movement from the back. They've actually put a display case back. I believe this is the first GMT that they have done this for, modern GMT that they have done this for. They've done it in the past, but never in one of the Zulu times. I'm very happy that they've finally done that. The display case back does bring this to a new level. The bezel insert on this watch is gold capped, not gold plated. So it does have a little bit more of an intensity of gold. It looks more like actual gold than a gold plate. These are Flyer GMTs, so they work like a Rolex. You have an hour hand that skips when you go to change the GMT. These are very functional and very good looking. Obviously, you can get other GMTs that are cheaper that are also Flyer GMTs, but I really love what Lunine does with this group of watches. The divers and their Zulus, I think they are fantastic, and I've owned a few, so I really do like these watches. The next watch on this list really isn't a watch, it's more of a shoe, although it is a watch. Crocs and GShock have teamed up on a fully loomed Croc, and in that Croc you can mount a GShock. Yeah, so basically the entire case on that GShock is also loomed, and then you have a loomed pair of Crocs. This all comes in at $200, so actually I'm pretty impressed with the price on this, because you're getting a pair of shoes and you're getting a watch, and they match and they actually fit into each other so that you could wear the watch on your foot. Kind of a weird concept. I'm not sure how you would actually tell time unless you're sitting down, crossing your legs, I guess. I don't know. But hey, why not? And then you could wear two watches and not look like a maniac, although you probably would look like a maniac wearing bright white Crocs with a watch lodged into them, but I'm not even sure. But $200 is a pretty good price, and they are kind of cool. And like I said, they match. So the heel thing that holds the Croc onto your foot, that matches the strap of the watch that you get. And I believe that the watch is a Casio. They don't say anything about it in the press release or the materials that I have seen, but really cool. Actually, in my opinion, very cool. And I considered buying a pair, but I've never worn Crocs, and I'm not going to start with these. So I do like the idea that they are fully lume, but I'm not sure where I would ever wear these. Selton, a brand that I have mentioned here on my channel many times. I feature many of their watches here. They have come out with a new watch that is taking their brand to new levels, really. They have made a dial that is hand guillocheed, so you're getting a Chopard Alpine Eagle-like dial. That's what I would call it. And then it's enameled. So this is an enamel, a Grand Fou enameled dial, and you are getting this in a very wearable case, as they normally do. I think this is around a 39 millimeter watch, and it's powered by a new movement that they haven't used in the past. So they're actually using a really nice movement in here. This is the Soprod M100, and they have decorated the rotor on this. You can get it engraved. It does cost a little bit more money, but they are putting a lot of effort into this watch, and I think it looks fantastic. You also get the option for on-the-fly micro adjust or a butterfly clasp. The pricing is between $1,899 and $2,200, somewhere in that range, depending on what you choose. But I have to say, this is a gorgeous watch. The fact that they're using a better movement, they put a beautiful dial on it. Seltner trying to move up market maybe a little bit. These are expensive, but I don't think they're expensive for what you're getting here. Definitely check these out. Certina, a brand that is often, very often overlooked, have just released a really cool dive watch that I don't think a lot of people know about. It's an ISO certified dive watch. It gets a new double security concept. So this is something that they have used in many of their watches. The DS in their name is double security. Basically, it suspends the movement within the case, and that gives you shock resistance. So what they have done now is they've changed this method. It is now screwed into the case. Either way, what they're doing is adding more shock resistance, more vibration resistance, and that is always good, because really the two ways that you can damage a watch is by leaving the crown unscrewed and letting water get into the crown and obviously into the movement and into the dial, or dropping your watch on the floor. So if you do one of those two things, you're guaranteed to screw up your watch. With this, you can drop this watch on the floor, is basically the point of it, and you will not have a problem. They've also designed the sapphire crystal to be more shock resistant and not shatter. This is pretty affordable. This comes in at around $810. It's 40.5 millimeters. You're getting a black dial, a black bezel that is made out of ceramic. A really good looking watch in my opinion. And again, you're getting all of that tech. If you want the one on the bracelet, it's $940, but usually they do give you some sort of on-the-fly micro adjust, or at least a diving extension that you could adjust if your wrist does expand, which is pretty cool with these watches. So for under $1,000, you're getting a pretty good looking watch that is very technical and obviously very shock resistant, which is very important. The next two watches are pretty expensive, so I do want to talk about them here because I think they are very, very cool, but like I said, very expensive. You guys know that I'm a big fan of MBNF. MBNF have two different types of watches that they currently make, or did currently make. First, there are the HMs. Those are the horological machines. Those are inspired by futuristic things, maybe inspired by machines, space, aviation, automotive design. And then there are the LMs. Those are the legacy machines. Those are more wearable. They're basically traditional watches that get a very high domed sapphire crystal, a very 3D effect to their movements, and that's kind of the idea behind those. They are very, very complicated, beautiful watches as well. And now they have come out with the SP. These are the special projects that don't fit into either of those molds, the HMs or the LMs. And they've come out with their first watch, which is the Special Projects 1. This is a circular watch, UFO shaped. It has 3 circles on the dial, so essentially it's set up so that the movement fits within 3 circles on the dial. When you flip it over, it looks like an X, and it is completely skeletonized. In fact, most of the space on the dial is evacuated, so there is nothing there, and when you look at it, you can see your wrist through the watch. So if you have a hairy wrist, you definitely do not want to get this watch, but if you are not hairy and you don't want to see a hairy background, this will be pretty cool on anybody's wrist, really. And these are pretty wearable, so they're going to make these smaller. I believe they are around 39 millimeters, but if I'm wrong about that, I'll put that down in the description. These are expensive though, $76,000 for the gold, $82,000 for the platinum. Very, very expensive watches. They are hand wound, and I'm glad that they did this because now they don't have to make a horological machine or a legacy machine. They can make anything that they want within the Special Projects venue. Pretty cool watches, and in my opinion, really beautiful. Very expensive as well, obviously, but that's what MBNF are all about. Crazy watches that cost pretty crazy money. Last but not least is a watch that I actually really like. I just don't like the price tag. Josh Shapiro makes some very high-end watches. He is an American watchmaker located in California, in LA. He makes all of his watches in his studio in LA. He actually rose turns dials in LA. They're made out of precious materials. He is making his own mechanical movement here in the United States, which is really hard. And he is making every component of that movement, which is very, very special, bringing all of that to the United States. However, while he is doing that, he has come out with a new watch, and that is the Infinity series, the Pure series. And these are $26,000. You're getting that dial, that hand guilloche dial that's made out of, I believe, sterling silver. You're getting a stainless steel case. You're getting a guilloche case back. This is all handmade here in the United States, in California. However, they've decided to use a La Joux movement inside. That is the F200. This is a hand-wound movement that is used by a few other brands. One of them is Sartori Biard, and there's a few other brands. Even Ralph Lauren have used this in their watches. These are not incredibly expensive movements, so the price tag of $26,000 is pretty hard to swallow. However, if you admire Josh Shapiro and you can't afford an $80,000 watch, maybe you can afford a $26,000 watch. I think that's where they're going with this. This isn't like a more affordable version of a Josh Shapiro watch. This is a Josh Shapiro watch. However, it doesn't have the Josh Shapiro movement inside. That's kind of what I think they're doing. I get it. It's still pretty expensive for what you're getting. And maybe if they lowered the prices on these, they would sell a lot of them. I don't think they'll sell a lot of these, even though they are limited. I think they're limited to like 26 pieces. I think they'll sell out at that number. They could probably sell a lot more if they came down in the price, but I get what they're trying to do here. Tell me what you guys think down in the comments below. What do you think of the 10 watches that we spoke about today? Would you add any other new releases onto this list, or perhaps a list that I'll make in the future? Anyway, guys, thank you for logging on. Thank you for watching this video. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, hit that bell icon. It is super helpful for the channel, and I very much appreciate it. Anyway, guys, thank you for logging on. Thank you for watching this video. I'll catch you guys in the next video.